hold on to something.
It's showtime.
No, wait. I have done everything I've been asked to do. I didn't understand it, but I've done it. And I haven't once asked what's in it for me.
What are you saying, Ray?
I'm saying, what's in it for me?
Raymond, am I using you, Raymond?
This is the Total Sports Experience.
There's gonna be rumors about this. There's no way to stop it.
And now your host,
Ray, are you in here?
Ray Baker.
I miss going 5-hole on you.
You should never be allowed to talk to people.
Dude, that was a hell of an intro. I am honored and I am touched.
Well, we're live. It's a Tuesday, and I will be one of the first ones to tell you I didn't see that one coming. Welcome into a Tuesday episode, you guys. Live episode here of the Total Sports Experience. I am your host, Ray Baker. Boy, did we have a weekend. I'm just going to bring him up right now because it's not a special guest. It's just the co-host of this afternoon. On the Mountain Mike's Pizza Hotline, I've got my co-host for the afternoon, Christopher Sheffield. The chef is with me. First, before we get into what slapped us all across the face this weekend, and a trade that I did not see coming, and I even said on the show last week, if you guys were with me, that is not where I had Matthew Stafford going. But we'll get back to that in a second. To start off, he's just our resident co-host. Can I just call you a resident co-host at this point?
Sure.
I mean, why not,
sure.
Right?
A guest co-host.
Yeah. Christopher Sheffield, the chef, is with me. First of all, let's start this off because this last weekend you had the Berger Pond Hockey Tournament, which we were efforting to get to ourselves, but COVID and everything else. And now that we're on the other side of this, I'm almost glad I didn't get to go.
Oh, yeah.
You and I have been talking over the last 3 or 4 days through the tournament and stuff like that, but you sent me a couple pictures that were disturbing in the fact that you had snow drifts on doorknobs on the outside. Dude, that's a lot of snow.
Yeah, so the temperature at puck drop on Saturday was 3 degrees, and it was still windy. I had flooded the day before, and I had flooded so much water in such a large area that ice chunks formed, and they weren't heavy enough to stay on the pond, and they blew up and caused like chunks of water and snow in the middle of the rinks. We did have 4 rinks and a sled hockey rink. It was cold, and I knew right away that once I saw the temperatures, this is going to be a short tournament. We delayed the start until 9:30, and everybody was done by 11:30. But I had one person show up. I'll tell you this right now. One person showed up and looked at me and said, "I thought this was indoor." And I'm like, "It's a pond hockey tournament. You have got to be out of your mind." And like, he was Karen. I'm sorry. And it's just like, you got to be out of your mind. So that was that. And then, my flight was today, scheduled for today. And I called United because they said, expect delays at the airport. And I'm thinking, dude, we're getting 2 feet up in the hills. That's not going to be a delay. That's going to be what we call a cancellation.
Right.
It's like, when they have an airplane crashes into a body of water, they call it an aquatic event. Dude, that's an air crash in a pond.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Don't sugarcoat it. So the best is when I called United and they're like, well, we know you're supposed to go to John Wayne, but could you go to LAX? Could you go to Long Beach? Could you go to Ontario, San Diego? All this, they started rattling off all these things. And I'm like, you just figure it out and get back to me. And basically that's what they did, because they didn't Hartford is not a hub. So there are no planes coming in because of the weather. And if there's no planes coming in, how are people getting out?
Right.
So it's like, it's kind of like the Kings games in the 70s. You call up, you're like, yeah, I need 2 tickets. What time's the game? And they go, well, what time can you get here? It's like, You know, that's how it used to be with Jack Kent Cooke, who also owned the Washington Football Club, also known as another name of another team. But anyway, so that was going on Saturday, and it's going on now. There's 2 feet of snow on the ground, roughly, maybe 20 inches. But the drifts up here in Winchester Center are epic. It's 42 years to the weekend from the blizzard of 78. And if you don't know what the blizzard of 78 was, look it up, because it is a weather treat for the tropicals. But yeah, you mentioned in your opening, you didn't see Matthew Stafford going to the Lambs. I knew that the coach was unhappy with Goff, so I knew there was some friction there. I honestly thought Rodgers was going to go from Green Bay to the Rams. I really did. I thought that's where he was headed.
Well, there was talk about that.
Oh yeah.
The discussion went before all of this landed. Let me just lay all this out here. Over the weekend, the Detroit Lions and the LA Rams traded players, let's say, but this was very lopsided. So the LA Rams are going to send Jared Goff and 3 draft picks, 2 of them first-round draft picks to the Detroit Lions in exchange for Matthew Stafford. Now, here's... Boy, I got to tell you, this one, like I mentioned, this one just crushed me because I thought I had Matthew Stafford going to the San Francisco 49ers. I had Jimmy Garoppolo going back to the New England Patriots.
Yep.
And then Matt Stafford came out, and this was what was funny, Chef. He came out and said, Matt Stafford says, you can trade me anywhere. I don't want to stay in Detroit. We knew that he was on the quarterback carousel.
Yep.
And then he says, anywhere but New England, which cracked me up in of itself, okay? But then we hit this, and I mentioned this, I think you and I talked about this. The LA Chargers, I call them the San Diego Chargers because that's always going to be San Diego. The San Diego Chargers, to me, made a panic button decision on their head coach. Is this, in your, look, I know there was friction between this guy and that guy and what have you. Was this a panic button trade by the Rams?
I don't think so. If you think about it, the Rams division isn't really, it's a strong division, but I mean, are they going to finish top 15 in the NFL next year? Probably. So you're looking at Detroit getting, draft picks in the next couple of years in the first round that are between picks, let's be honest, between 15 and 25. I don't see them as a top 5 team, but you're looking at, it's a good pick, but it's not a great pick. Would you rather pick second, or would you rather pick, 23rd? I mean, let's be real. When a player comes out and says, in any sport, and says, I'll go anywhere but New England, or anywhere but Detroit, or wherever, that's usually an extra log on the fire. But I could there's a few, I'll talk about the Patriots now, I guess, for a little bit, but they're not going to get Carson Wentz. He's not good enough. Stafford doesn't want to go. Rodgers is too far along in his career. And I do think Garoppolo is going to end up back in New England. That's the player that Bill wanted all along. And it's going to start the quarterback carousel like we haven't seen in a while. I mean, quarterbacks that large getting traded for one another. I remember Stabler and Pastorini way back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I can't really remember one for the other. Now, Eli and Rivers, those were first round picks.
Yeah, but that was draft day drama, right, if you remember. Correct. That. So that in itself. Look, here's the problem that I have with this for a second, because like you said, the quarterback carousel is on and it is swinging, right? And the first 2 got flung off in the form of Matt Stafford and Jared Goff. Here's the problem I have. Matt Stafford, stats wise, not bad, but he was in the playoffs in his career in Detroit 3 times. 2011 wild card game, the 2014 wild card game, and the 2016 wild card game. Now, he ran into some buzzsaws in the playoffs in the form of the New Orleans Saints in 2011, the Dallas Cowboys in 2014, and the Seattle Seahawks, who I believe won the Super Bowl that year, in 16.
Yep.
So here's a guy that has 0-3 in the playoffs. He's only been 3 times, versus a guy who took you to the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Where's the friction? Why is it that this was your guy last year? You backed up a Brinks truck to his garage and dumped sacks of money in his garage for him, and 18 months later, he's not your guy. This is puzzling to me.
Well, so I look at Stafford, and I don't look at the win losses in the playoffs. This guy is a quarterback. This guy is a professional quarterback. If you put Matthew Stafford in any successful system, Pittsburgh, New England, the Giants system, Seattle is probably the best I could think of, because not that the quarterbacks are comparable, but the system is that good. Am I going to say that he would have won 6 Super Bowls if he was with the Patriots? No. But what I'm saying is that Stafford has this intangible that makes him elite, and he's elite on a horrible, horrible team. And it's horrible from they have 5 players on their 45-man roster that are really good, and then the rest are just laughable. And you're talking about a head coach and a coaching staff that is horrific, and you're talking about a front office, the GM, the ownership, right on down. It is just a moribund franchise. And there's one in New York. It's called the Jets. And that is another team that's on the carousel. But when you take Stafford and you put him in a successful system like McVay has in LA, he's going to thrive even more. This guy is I'm telling you, he is going to be right up there with the top 5 in the sport. And Goff, there's something about him. He didn't show up for the Super Bowl. And I get it. It's the Super Bowl and you're playing against the Patriots, but your team could only muster 13 points in a Super Bowl. So that's 2 field goals and a touchdown. But that's the best you can get. Now, I will say this. There's something else going on with the Rams, is they'll sign these players to the extension. Goff, Gurley, and there's a few others, and they trade them before the extension kicks in. So if they've got a 3-year deal and they sign a 5-year extension, they'll play them the first 3 years on that deal. But when it starts to escalate for that 4th year, because it's in the extension, they trade that player. They did it to Gurley, and they've done it to Goff. And the NFL Players Association is taking note of that, because they know that they can't put in the no trade clause in that extension. It's there's something in their bylaws that can't allow that to happen.
Here's the problem I have with that, though, and I'm with you. There's something fishy going on with that. But the Rams are still going to take the cap hit and pay a portion of Goff's salary going forward. You want to get rid of that guy that bad?
That's how bad. Yeah, I don't know who signed him to that extension, but they couldn't trade him then. They had already spent enough time and energy, and time more than anything else in the NFL is the most vital thing. You can never buy time. But he had already invested in that system, and to bring somebody in completely brand new and get one system in, even if it's Phillip Rivers, even if it's Tom Brady, it takes a year for that system. Now, Brady is a different cat. I should also say that as well. But even if they brought in not a top 2 quarterback, I mean, obviously it's Brady and it's Rodgers, and then there's a little bit of a drop off, but you could bring in any quarterback. It's still going to take them a while to learn that system. And you got to think about one other thing, is they brought him in, they got him to the Super Bowl, It's not like teams don't repeat. It's unless it's Brady, of course, but teams don't repeat. They don't go back to the Super Bowl the next year. I mean, the Seahawks did it, but it's not.
It's rare. It's rare.
Very rare. So you took Goff to the prom, and you didn't become king. So it's not going to happen again. I mean, it's not going to come back to haunt the Rams, and it's not going to happen again. There's just no way that he can that he's going to take him to that high level again. It's time to move on.
Yeah, and like you said, look, repeating in the playoffs at all, even in an AFC or NFC championship game, is rare. You've got teams like the not Tampa Bay, sorry, the New England Patriots. See, Brady's got me all goofed up, but the New England Patriots have done it. I think there needs to be that cohesiveness between head coach, quarterback, and then some of those key players. And you had that with Belichick and Brady for years.
Yep.
I think you've got that with Andy Reid and with Fanny Pack. That's what I'm calling him right now.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is a superstar. He is incredible. But I think Andy Reid knows that and knows how to scheme around him versus trying to get that quarterback to buy into your system. I think Belichick was really good at that too. Belichick knew what kind of quarterback Tom Brady was and schemed around that. Can Sean McVay now do that with a guy like Matthew Stafford?
Absolutely. They are the winners of that trade, hands down. It is
even with as much as they gave up. I mean, they don't pick first overall or first in the first round until 2024.
Yeah, but you're talking about the Rams, and they're on their projection going up. I don't see that team bottoming out. They've gotten rid of all of their extended contracts. They're going to have some cap room. Yeah. And think about one thing. It's a very comical thing. Can you sit there and look in the mirror and go, I can't believe the Detroit Lions won that trade? You know? Can you say that? Like I can't.
No one
wait.
can. Can you? No. Can anybody really say the Detroit Lions got the better shake? I mean, look, you've got draft picks and you're piling them up, but so basically, you're telling me the Detroit Lions right now are in full blown rebuild mode. I mean, let's face it.
I think the Lions have been in rebuild mode since Henry Ford pushed the Edsel out on the line. I don't know what.
Hey, they went to the conference championship game in 1991. What are you talking about?
What show am I guest hosting this week? You got to be kidding me. I mean, no. It's really sad. It really is. I remember when the Silver Dome was there, and it has all that Thanksgiving tradition, and now they have the Ford Field and everything. I mean, you would think it's a dynamite place to play. I will say this: it's very, very unfortunate. Two things did not happen. One, that the Lions were not sold to William Davidson, or the Lions were not sold to Mike Ilitch, and I'm talking about in their heyday.
Yeah.
Because they knew how to build a winner. And they knew how to build a winner in Detroit. The Vipers, the Pistons.
The Red Wings.
Red Wings.
Dude, the Red Wings were titans in the NHL for years.
Yep. For 15 years, they were top of the heap. And you got to throw in the Tigers. I mean, at least how many times you sit there and go, gosh, I wish my team, I wish my team had Miguel Cabrera. Boom, you got him. Right. Right. Like, you can't dream. I laugh at all the Yankee fans. They're like, oh, man, if we had Stanton, gosh, we got Stanton? What do we have to give up? Oh, we gave up nothing? I mean, we gave up Starling Castro and a couple of minor leaguers. Are you kidding me?
Right. Nothing.
If I'm telling you, and I laugh all the time, if Stanton is healthy and he pumps out a 275 batting average, 40 home runs, 120 RBIs, zip it. That's all you need.
You're done.
And the man can't stay healthy. I mean, but they do. But I don't want to chat about the Yankees too much. But they have a new health expert. They brought in a new fitness guy. They've revamped everything, and this is year 2 of it. So, and COVID really, they couldn't really, get everything going that they wanted because of all the restrictions. Now, getting back to Detroit, it is just pathetic that the team. I mean, even Bill Davidson was a genius. I mean, the Lightning were so horrible. I had season tickets at the St. Pete Times Forum, and it was just a disaster. And he turned them into Stanley Cup winners in 3 years.
Yeah.
And he was also the owner that took a chance on Tortorella. That was his first NHL gig. And he was blessed with a couple of draft picks named Vinny Lecavalier and Brad Richards. And it was their former GM that pulled the trigger on Javi Bulin. And a lot of people don't know this either. I don't want to talk too much about the Ning dynasty either, but Javi Bulin sat out. He sat out a year.
Yeah.
He sat out, and he demanded that any team that trades for, because he wanted a trade. I mean, there was no way he was going to stay in Phoenix. But when he demanded a trade, he said, "I want to be paid for the year that I lost." And Davidson looked at him and said, and I must have said it in Russian. He said, "No, we don't negotiate like that, and we will push you on to a third team, and it'll be the Atlanta Thrashers." And that Javi Bulin's, cooler heads prevailed, and he got the deal that he wanted in Tampa all along. And then he was also, he turned in a huge deal in, I believe it was Edmonton, and then Chicago as well. But anyway, when you have a quarterback carousel going in the NFL like it's going to be, and it's just started. I mean, I do see Garoppolo going to New England. I do see it's going to be a swirl. The Haskins, the quarterback out of Washington, he's going to get a second chance somewhere. I see him backing up in Pittsburgh. I do see Wentz on the move. He can't stay there. I do see Watson going to the Jets.
Okay, let's talk about that because you are close, and I have to giggle every time that you and I speak especially through social media during the NFL season, because let's face it, the Jets this year were not good. Not good. But I have been
this year. How about this decade?
Okay. Well, they are in the AFC East, which has had Tom Brady, and now you've got the Buffalo Bills up there that are doing very well. So it's going to take some time for the Jets to get up there. Here's my question, because now in the AFC East, let's face it, the New England Patriots are falling like a rock right now.
Yep.
The Dolphins have some talent. I have said from the very beginning, when this got brought up, they said Deshaun Watson, and he's done in Houston. It's not formal, but he doesn't want to play there. Then a week ago, he's like, "Oh, it's formal. I don't want to play here." Look, we all knew that the relationship there was broken. He's going to move on. And everybody jumped on the JETS bandwagon. And he said, he's got to go to New York. I'll pose it as a question to you. My thoughts from the very beginning, the Jets don't need Deshaun Watson. Do they want him? Is he a good quarterback? Yes. You've invested in Sam Darnold. Are you flipping the switch now? Are you done with Sam Darnold?
So here's how you have to look at that. Is they think that they can flip Darnold for a pair of number twos or one number one. And the Jets have the most draft capital. So it's the Jamal Adams trade that aids with that.
Right, that's right.
So the Jets have two things going for them. Actually, three. They have the most draft capital for Houston. So Houston likes that. They have the most cap space for an extension. So
which Deshaun Watson likes.
Yeah, Watson likes that. So he'll waive for that. And the third thing is it's New York City. I mean, there is not a player on the Giants that is as big as Deshaun Watson on the Jets. And that is, I mean, Barkley, okay, well, he's injured, but that's great. But this is Deshaun, this is a quarterback. And he's a 26-year-old. If they even get, and here's the comical thing, if they get 5 all-star, and I know all-pro, all-star, if you get 5 all-pro, all-star level seasons out of Deshaun Watson, you are going to go to the playoffs 3 of those 5 years, and you're going to have a deep run at one of those years. When you're a Jets fan and you're Jets management, you take the chance. They have a horrible half of their offensive line. They need an edge pass rusher.
That's why I'm saying I think the Jets need help in other space. To me, you're pushing all your chips in for one guy. And let's face it, you know better than I do.
Yep.
The media in New York will crush him the first time he has a bad game. Because, look, I deal with media here in Los Angeles, and we're bad, but we're not New York media. The New York media will destroy him, dude.
Yeah, but Manish Mehta is gone. He's gone. But anyway, it's true. But they have so much draft capital, and they have so much cap room. They're talking about, they have a wide receiver, Mims. He's a really a great wide receiver, and they have another one that's on board as well. But they're going to need a third, and they're going to need one that's better than the other two. And they're available. And I can't remember the wide receivers that are available because of the quarterback carousels front and center. But the Jets are going to hold on to whatever they do. They're going to have a first round pick. It's not going to be second overall. It's going to be the Sam Darnold trade, or it's going to be the one they got for Jamal Adams out of Seattle. So they're going to have something. They're going to have a talent, and they have a slew. People don't remember this either. They had a pair of second-round picks, I believe, for Williams, the gentleman out of USC. So, I mean, it's just the lineman. I can't remember his first name, but I mean that's just one. They had other trades during the season. They were collecting second, third, and fourth round draft picks. They've got a slew. I think they have the most picks in the NFL the next 3 or 4 years.
Here's one of the problems, though. Here's one of the problems that came up, I think, over the weekend when the Rams give up a second round this year, a first round, and a first round in the next 2 years. You're setting the bar now for these trades because remember, like you said, I think if I counted right, 18 quarterbacks on the carousel this year, which is more than we've had in decades.
Yeah.
It always takes it, and you and I know this because we cover the NHL so closely with trade day, right?
Yep.
It takes that one. Once the one hits, the floodgates kind of open. But what happened here is the bar got set with 2 first rounders for Matt Stafford. So now you have to sit back and think, okay, I got 2 first rounders and a second rounder for Matt Stafford. I'm gonna have to give away the franchise for a guy like Deshaun Watson.
Mm.
If the Jets have that much, you're right, they're gonna have to move Darnold. They may have to move Darnold in a trade with Houston to get Deshaun Watson out of there.
Yeah, it might have to be a 3-way trade because I'll tell you right now, if they get that second pick, they're not going to let that Ohio State quarterback slide too much farther past them.
And that would be a jump. I think if Justin Fields goes number 2, look, Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars are kind of dialed in right now.
Yeah.
This is where it becomes interesting. Because if it's a 3-way deal and that second pick goes somewhere, if it's the Jets and I'm the Jets, I'm not trading for Deshaun Watson. Sam Darnold's my guy, and I go get Devontae Smith out of from Alabama at the number 2 pick, and now I've got my 1-2 punch, and I go start filling in the holes everywhere else.
I think
that's just me.
I think the Jets can trade down and pick up that player out of Alabama that you just mentioned, I believe. I think they'll be able to trade down a couple of spots and pick up even more draft capital. But here's the thing. If Watson doesn't go to the Jets, he could go. Carolina has been rumored. Miami has been rumored.
Yep. For
So
Tua, it's moving Tua over there, which,
right.
again,
So,
if you're a Jets fan, that's not good news for you.
no, but Miami doesn't have that capital. So Miami, I think they're picking, 16th or 14th, I believe it is.
I'm checking that right now. Yeah.
It's not second. It is not second. And you're also looking at the Houston Texans. If they do receive that second pick and they get Sam Darnold, they can do literally what you just said. They can trade back and build around Darnold. And Darnold is not a bad building block. Darnold is the unfortunately for Darnold, you put him in the Jet sandbox, and there's trees growing out of it, there's acorns, and there's no sides to the box.
Right.
And guess what? And then it starts raining. So really, he hasn't had a lot to do and a lot to play with. And then he got mono because it's raining, and he didn't have an umbrella. So he's had nothing. It's literally been Sam Darnold and Mekhi Becton, and that's over 1 year. And he hasn't had anybody. They let Robbie Anderson go. They admitted it was a mistake. And it's really kind of bizarre because if the Panthers don't get Watson, I could see Darnold going to the Panthers, and that reunites Robbie Anderson with Darnold. I also, it's really funny. I could really see Darnold going to someplace like Vegas, San Francisco.
I would love for him
anywhere
to be a 49er. Bring him out here, bring him back to the West Coast, get him with Kyle Shanahan, and let him run that. Because, look, Kyle Shanahan likes that in-the-pocket guy to throw it. Jimmy Garoppolo is that guy. Jimmy Garoppolo's not a runner. Let's face it.
No. Nope.
Kyle Shanahan in that system wants a guy that can sit in the pocket and pick guys apart. Hello, Sam Darnold.
Yep.
The problem is, I don't think you can trade Sam Darnold San Francisco's way because I don't think they have enough to give back in that deal.
Well, everybody has a first rounder, I believe, except for Seattle. And he's obviously Darnold's not going there. But even if it's a first rounder down the road, it's exactly what you mentioned. They could package that first rounder to Houston for what they want. So that's kind of like that three-way trade, or, hey, we'll make a trade on Monday and it's pending the trade that we're making on Tuesday. And as long as there's not any money involved and it's just picks, the league's not going to put the kibosh on a major trade anyway. They know it's going to happen. And like I said all along, it's fortunate that the Jets have the capital. The Jets actually hold cards in this. They can literally trade down and get and acquire more picks the next 3 years and surround Darnold with more. But is the offensive coordinator they're bringing in, will it suit Watson or will it suit Darnold? And the funny thing is, and it's really bizarre because players talk in the NFL, they talk, it's almost as bad as the NBA. But when Richard Sherman jumps out and says, "Oh, Watson's going to love New York. He's going to love that new coach, Sulla." So that's the Robert Sulla. They're going to love him. That'll be a great fit. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, like, who does that? Like, you're a player in the NFL. You're not a retired player. You're not an agent. You're not a sports. You're not. Ray Lucas. You're talking about a active player pushing another player on another team that you never even played on. So, that just goes to show you the tight knit family of the NFL. And I'm telling you, I don't think he's going to Miami. I just don't think they have enough of that tradable assets for Houston. And, there's rumors that J.J. Watt now wants out, and that's kind of tragic. He is the face of the franchise. He was NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year there. And, it's tragic. And so something's going on in Houston. I know they fired the coach midseason. I think the GM is out, and they also gave away the wide receiver to Arizona right before the season started. I mean, if he was out on for 2 second-round picks, that should have been all over that. But it is what it is, and that just goes to show you the value of what you have on each roster.
Let's put one more spin on the quarterback carousel too, because I love this, and we need to switch because we'll run out of time. But I want to talk baseball for a minute.
Sure.
Here's the other caveat in the quarterback carousel, and I absolutely love this. There are 6, count them, 6 quarterbacks that could get drafted in the first round. There's 4 of them that can go in the top 10. Trevor Lawrence, we mentioned already, out of Clemson. Justin Fields, we mentioned, out of Ohio State. Zach Wilson out of BYU. In the 2.0 mock draft that ESPN put out, Zach Wilson, guess what, is going number 2 to the Jets. Now, okay, look, I get it. With the quarterback carousel spinning as fast as it is right now, and as many people has jumped on this thing, the mock drafts right now, to me, are almost pointless. And here's why. You're going to get trades. You're going to get big trades. These picks are not going to stay where they're at right this second before draft day. And you don't know what quarterback who's already in the NFL is going to land with what team in the NFL. So right now, to me, this is the first year that I think mock drafts, you just can't. You got to throw them right out the window. But Zach Wilson out of BYU, Trey Lance out of North Dakota State, who's got a can of an arm, and then Mac Jones out of Alabama. Oh, and by the way, Kyle Trask out of Florida. I mean,
well, I saw Trask in one of the games. I wasn't impressed. I didn't like him. And then other than the young man from Clemson going number 1 overall, are any of those quarterbacks better than Darnold? And you have to sit there and go,
that's a great question. That's such a great question.
Yep.
Is Trevor Lawrence better than Sam Darnold as we sit right this second?
I'd have to say yes.
Wow.
Yep.
I mean, look, Sam Darnold was a stud at USC.
Yeah, but you don't have to answer that question. You know why? Because if he falls to 2, are you kidding me?
No.
So there you go.
The world, the sky would be falling. The world would be ending.
The sky fell here. It's 18 to 24 inches. We went over that. So, but here's the thing: he's not falling. So you have to ask yourself, as the GM, as Joe Douglas of the Jets, are any of the quarterbacks better than Darnold? And we're talking right now, because the Jets are rebuilding, but they can rebuild fast. Why? They have exactly. I've been saying it all along. They have the cap space and they have the draft capital. I mean, they have everything. They have everything going. Like I said, the Jets hold a lot of cards. That's the first time in a long time you can say that. And they have a great coach, and he's implementing everything. So you're looking at the Jets with assets, not even where they are. It's the Jets aren't going to hold. I would be floored. It would be so Jet-like, though, to pick number 2 and pick a quarterback. Are you kidding me? The quarterbacks are not. They've got to drop down, or they've got to go get Watson. That's the only thing they have.
They have to do that. I mean, look, you can't. The top wide receivers, if you're a Jet and you're looking at a wide receiver, Jamar Chase out of LSU. You've got Devontae Smith out of Alabama. You got Jalen Waddle out of Alabama. Rondale Moore from Purdue. You've got a good handful of really good receivers. But I mentioned this on a show last week, and one of our listeners texted in and said, "Are you going to spend a number 2 pick on a wide receiver?"
Yep.
I mean, and honestly, now that you need a running back too, if you're going to draft. But again, like if you're going to take Travis Etienne out of Clemson, if you're going to take Najee Harris out of Alabama. You're going to take Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. Are you going to spend a number 2 pick to get one of those guys?
Yeah, but you're not. But you're talking you just listed 4 running backs and 4 wide receivers and 6 quarterbacks in the top. Let's just say in the top
20.
10.
Let's say top 20.
Right. So you could be a Jets. You could be the Jets. Trade back to 10
And load up.
And you could get 10 and you could get 15 and you're going to get a wide receiver and you're going to get a running back, and then you're going to go and spend your money on a lineman, and you're going to build your offensive lineman.
You could get offensive lineman. You could get a good defensive tackle. You could get a couple cornerbacks. I mean, look, if you're the Jets and you do this right, again, it's hard because the Jets are in the AFC and they're in the AFC East, where you have Buffalo, who looks like is dialed in. You've got Kansas City, who is obviously dialed in back to back. So you look, it's a long road to haul if you're a Jets fan. But to me, to go out and spend that much, and I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about players and draft picks on one quarterback, when I could sit back and I could pick apart the rest of this draft class for myself. Boy.
I could see the Jets trading for Watson, still having a good chunk of that draft capital there because of the Darnold trade and the salary cap. So you're looking at a lot of different things. And, to buy a top flight wide receiver and buy a running back, but draft the lineman, the offensive line and the defensive line that you both need, and a cornerback, it's not the end of the world. I mean, they just have to do it right. They have to do it right. They cannot do it like the Jets. They got to do it right. That's the problem.
That's the problem. You're the Jets.
Think about this. If Bill Belichick had this much cap room and this much draft capital, you would sit there and go, this guy, and Sam Darnold, you would sit there and go, and Becton, you would say, this guy is going to build a monster team that's going to last 12 to 15 years. And he's going to go, the worst season he'll have will be 11-5.
Yeah.
That's if Bill Belichick was running it.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's the Jets. it's the Jets that will sit there and go, hey, we almost got to 9-7.
Woo-hoo.
You know what it's like? I have to be very leery of it. So I know you wanted to talk about baseball as well. And I just want to throw this out there. If you want to talk about a lopsided trade that's like with Stanton, all you need to do is look at Colorado just getting fleeced by the St. Louis Cardinals. And not only that, they did it over a weekend. I mean, it's one thing to like, hey, we're like, the league had to check on it. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
That anytime you get rid of your star player, and hey, we're going to give you 50 million, and we're going to defer money, and we're going to pay that deferred money. And the only thing we want really is your second tier prospects, but we want a pitching prospect. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So here's the trade. This is another one where when it came down, I had a feeling Ariando was on his way out.
Yep.
And this is, again, one of those things where we're kind of speculating what could happen here, what could happen there.
Yep.
Then this trade comes down and it hits. And I thought, oh, wow, the Cardinals, what could they have given up? Oh, my gosh.
Nobody off their 25-man roster, I don't think.
No.
Nope.
Left-handed pitcher, Austin Gomber, the infielder, Mateo Gil, another infielder, Montero, and then the right-handed pitcher, two more right-handed pitchers. Jake Summers was one of them, that's kind of a bright star coming up. And then Tony Losi was on that trade. But 5 guys?
Yep.
For Nolan look, good third baseman, but really?
So who has the biggest smile on his face? And I'll say her face. The Marlins is a female, which is great. But which GM has the biggest smile on their face.
Oh, look.
Who do you think it is? Because I'll tell you right now who it is.
Well, this is kind of what, to me, this is kind of one of those trades where you're doing it in the video game, and you look. I want this guy. I'm gonna give him this, give him this, give him this, and then it finally goes through, and you go, "Oh, well, that took kind of a lot to get one guy." But now it's done, and you're like, "Should I? What if I should have done that? What if I should have pulled that trigger?" I don't know.
Well,
Look.
I'll tell you right now who is salivating.
Go ahead.
And there's no other team in baseball now can take Trevor Story's contract, and it's up for auction. And the Angels don't want it. Why? I have no idea. But they also aren't going to trade any of their young talent. Watch the Yankees, and there was a pitcher on the Rocks with, I think it's Marquez, who is a stud. And watch the two of them get packaged, and watch Andujar, watch Frazier, and watch Debbie Garcia go. And if you think that that's a lot for the Yankees to give up, not for the shortstop they're getting, it's the contract, and we really need to do a contract show and salary caps and everything, because it's these middle tier and lower tier teams that signed. They got the pie in the eye. They're looking at the pretty girl, and they want to sign the big contract. They want to go to the prom, and they can't afford it. And I'm sorry, I know it's, but that's the truth. They can't afford it. It's you need a new car. You can afford a Toyota, but you're at the Benz dealership. You're at Fletcher Jones. I mean, come on. You got to work within your scope, and they're not. These teams are not. And as an example, they're selling off. They didn't even want LeMahieu. Okay, they didn't want LeMahieu cheap, and that was the biggest favor DJ LeMahieu gave to the Yankees, was he kept it cheap so they could sign more, and he's in it to win it. The Marlins did the same thing. They had Stanton, Ozuna, and Yelich in their outfield, and they traded all three. I mean, that's what I mean by Colorado. They've really pushed off a lot of the expensive players on their roster, and there's one left. And of course, the last one to go, it's going to be easy. They've already come out and said, "Oh, he's going to start the season with us, and then we'll see where it goes." Okay, usually that means, he's going to be moved. He will not finish that season in Colorado, and I think it'll be in the Bronx.
Okay, so if you do that, because Trevor Story is, 28-year-old shortstop who is ridiculously good.
Yep.
If you do that, and look, the Yankees have already jumped in the kiddie pool here to make waves. DJ LeMahieu signing is one of them. Yep. The trade for Jameson Talon was another one.
Yep.
So you've got your top three, 1, 2, 3 in what could be a shortened playoff again if they do that. Because look, we didn't go 5 strong when we got to the playoffs this last year, and they're going to redo this. So you need to solidify your top 3. The Yankees have done that.
Yep.
But you bring Trevor Story into the mix now, and you put him at shortstop. Now you've got another, to me, question of where do you put Gleyber Torres?
He goes to second, DJ goes to first, and Voit goes on the block.
And then you keep Gino Urshela at third base.
Oh, yeah. You do not, I'm telling you right now, you do not trade Gio Urshela. I wouldn't. He is
a stud. That guy is, he came on so fast, so quickly, and so strong for the Yankees that is the guy outside of like Judge or I would say Gleyber Torres. I would even say Gary Sanchez.
Yep.
That's your diamond in the rough. That's the guy that you've got to hang on to.
He is, you know, I would not trade him. There's no, I can't sit there and say, we're going to move Urshela off of third base, but we've got a better option there anyway, because there isn't.
There isn't.
He is everything that they wanted.
You could put DJ over there. You could put Tyler Wade over there.
No.
Gio Urshela is your third baseman if you're a Yankee fan. There is no other option.
I am shocked that Gio Urshela has not won a Gold Glove at third base. I don't know who won it last year in the American League, and obviously the writers didn't get around to see all the ballparks and the clubs, but that's a Gold Glove third baseman. I don't know who it was. You could look it up. I hear the keyboard clicking, but I'm telling you, I think it was Seager up in Seattle, I think, or something like that, or Chapman out of Oakland. He's a stud. I'll give him that. If it's Chapman, I don't have a problem with that. But my issue is, I would not trade Urshela. Voit is 29 years old. He's injured a lot. He can carry a ball team. He can carry a ball club, rather, but he's 29. I think he is peaked. He can't peak any higher. He's got a great home run record, percentage. Yeah. If Stanton wasn't here, would he be your DH? Yes. And you can't put him anywhere else. He can't play left field. And that also plays into another thing. If Frazier is part of a trade for Story, you put Stanton back in left field.
Oh.
Do you put Voit at DH? Because that could work.
Yeah, but the problem with Stanton back in the field is now you are back to being prone to injuries, which he suffered with. Look, if we talked about this right before we went on the air, if that guy is healthy and even if he gives you 35 home runs and 100 RBIs, that is a gold mine. But is he physically up to the task of playing in the field?
Don't know.
That's the question mark that you got to scratch your head, because you can give it a try, but if he injures himself again, he's out. Now there goes 40 home runs and 100 RBIs.
Yep, and $30 million locked into your luxury tax.
Right.
The problem with Stanton is, it's not just any left field. It's left field at Yankee Stadium.
Right.
It's the hardest left field in baseball.
Yes.
And the second one is within the division. It's right up the pike in Boston. And it is what it is. I hate to say it like that, but the Dodgers winning the World Series actually hurt Stanton, because we all know he wants to go back to the West Coast, and we all know that he wants to be with the Dodgers, and he could veto any trade, but he's not going to the Dodgers. They don't need
go
him.
call the San Diego Padres, man. They're signing everybody. The Padres are making a run at the Dodgers. I'm telling you that right now.
I'll tell you. I hear you, but you know what? I'd love to see Stanton in right field in Anaheim. And, I can't I know Rendon and Trout, I know they're both right-handed batters, and Pujols is in his last year, but you'd be surprised what and where Stanton could go to. But I will say this, the rumors here have been light, but Voit for Hader out of Milwaukee. And look out.
God.
Yep. Look out if that happens, because then you're looking at three lefties in the Yankee pen to go with. They've got Ben Heller has got a heater, and they've got another righty, and I can't remember who it is. That's horrible. I know Ottavino is gone, but
wait, but you put Hader in there to.
Yep, but
do you put Hader in there to set up for Chapman, because Chapman's still?
Oh no, Britton. Britton is eighth inning. Britton is Mr. Eighth inning. So you're looking at Hader in the seventh or the
Oh
sixth.
my God, that'd be
So
that's gross.
You're shortening the game, and then you're looking at your starters, and you're telling them to go six. Just get me six. Just go through the lineup twice and help me out here.
That is gross. If that comes to fruition, and you tell Garrett Cole and Kluber and Talon and those guys, just give me 6 innings, and we'll turn it over to the bullpen.
But Kluber and Talon could really benefit from that.
Oh, huge.
And Herman coming back from a year and a half off can benefit from that. Same thing with Severino. And then you've got two young pitchers in Schmidt and Garcia. And that's if one of them isn't gone for a story. But the other thing is this. There is a guy, Luis Medina. He is in the Yankee system, and he routinely touches 99 to 102. And he's got a splitter, and there's some, and then we've forgotten about the lost gem of them all in a minute, but I'll tell you about him. But this guy is almost ready. That's why Talon and Kluber are on these short deals. Jordan Montgomery was supposed to be the next Andy Pettit, and he had elbow surgery and had Tommy John, and most Tommy Johns are 12 to 15 months, and he had a setback with his elbow, and it was a good thing because they found more damage and they were able to fix it. So his fastball was routinely between 90 and 92. Now he's hitting 98. Only a Yankee pitcher can have Tommy John and add 5 miles to his fastball. Like, are you kidding me? Like, what doctor does that? Christopher Ahmad is the Yankee doctor, by the way. He's a Yankee surgeon, but he is a gem. But the Yankees are exactly what I just said. They are stocked. And there are other teams that are as well. I mean, the Dodgers, the Padres to a certain degree.
Yep.
St. Louis now. Washington's going to make another run. The Mets don't look too bad. But, it's the Yankees. And if they go over the luxury tax, it won't reset for them for 2 years. But the thing to remember with the luxury tax is that CBA ends this year. And we're going on year 2 of a pandemic with no fans. And if you think that the big market teams are going to want to continue to profit share and lose money, that is not going to happen. They don't mind losing money. They don't mind the profit sharing, but what they really mind is being taxed on their profit sharing. And that is going to come to, I'm predicting this now. It's February 2nd, Groundhog Day. That is going to come to a stop. It has to stop at some point.
Yeah.
And George Steinbrenner, before he passed away, said it best. He said, why am I paying Lou Piniella to manage the Mariners and having them beat us in the playoffs with Griffey and A-Rod and Randy Johnson? And somebody piped up and said, they only beat you because you traded them Jay Buhner for Ken Phelps. and George lost it. But that's the truth. Why do I have to do this? Why am I paying Seattle to beat me in the playoffs? That is going to come to a stop. And at some point, they have to just have a floor, and they have to just have an equal playing field. It's disgusting what the Tampa Bay Devil Rays are doing, but they don't have any money. They have a great owner. That owner is a genius, and their front office staff. You want to talk about squeezing blood out of a rock? I mean, they're squeezing the whole blood, organs, everything, veins, arteries, anything you can get out of a rock. They're getting it, and that is going to stop at some point. And when clubs like Tampa are rumored to be moving, they're going. Their city's kicking the tires because they're losing money. And I also want to point this out. In the last 40 years, how many of the big four sports, when a team says, hey, we're thinking of moving and we're going, How many have been blocked? You're not going to move to that city. There's no way that we're going to allow that to happen. It's been blocked once, and it was Al Davis to LA or Al Davis to Vegas way back in the day. Other than that, the USA's packed up in Baltimore, and they went out middle of the night middle of the night. And Art Modell did the same thing going to Baltimore.
Yep.
And pretty much, this is it. I mean, they're not stopping.
Wow.
There's no stopping it. How many teams? So that I know that's you don't have a lot of time for baseball, but
no, we're going to talk more. We're going to talk more on Thursday. I'm depending on when your fights are, we'll figure all that out. I'm going to ask you one last question before we get off the air.
Sure.
I got to do this real fast. For those of you on the live stream that are watching us Thursday, we've got the live show again, and then this Sunday we'll be back on location for a Super Bowl special live show event at Mountain Mike's Pizza in Fountain Valley, California. We'll be there from noon to 1:30, and we're going to just break down the Super Bowl. However, we think, and we're trying to get all the details on this now, if you're listening to us in Southern California, we do have outdoor dining open again. I threw a party when that happened. So, for all of you listeners that want to come out and see us, if that stays in effect between now and Sunday, we're going to try to do our broadcast outside the front of the restaurant so you guys can come and sit and watch part of the pregame show, come chat with us, and do all that kind of jazz. So we're going to give more details probably later today or tomorrow to get that to you. But we'll be there anyways from 12 to 1:30. Come check us out at Mountain Mike's Pizza in Fountain Valley, California. It's going to be, though they have been such gracious hosts for us and treated us like family. So Nicole, who is the manager there, is amazing. Yvette, who is the owner of that store and Costa Mesa and up in Marysville, up by Sacramento, she's been amazing. So come join us. It's going to be great. And do you have to quarantine when you get back?
Yeah, I was going to say I would love to be there. I have to quarantine. I will be. I know, but I'm in Hartford. I'll be flying out of Bradley Field, out of Windsor Locks in Hartford, and the state of Connecticut's had some pretty solid numbers, and people aren't social distancing here, even though the snowstorm probably slowed it down. I was going
to say, how do you not social distance when there's 40 feet of snow outside?
Let me tell you, I've seen some tailgating once or twice over my tournament. The other thing is, I'm going to be flying through Denver. So it's not Chicago, which is always a hotbed, but I'll be going through Denver and then John Wayne. But it's advisable. And, it's, I know that we're just started out going to Mountain Mike's, and the people there have been gracious, and I've been looking at their menus and so forth online.
Great stuff.
But I'd rather be safe than sorry, and healthy, and keep others healthy and safe as well. So
maybe we'll get you on the Zoom hotline for that one, and we'll put you right on the table, big face right on the table, so it looks like you're right there next to us.
Yeah, because I can do the video then, because now I'm up here looking at two moose antlers for for Wi-Fi.
That's your TV antenna inside the moose.
Yep.
All right, so we'll do that Zoom. Here's my last question for you. We don't have a ton of time, but we are going to touch on this again.
Yep.
Nobody voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. It did not surprise me. Here's my question for you. Now that it's entering the 10th year for 4 players, and 4 very prolific players, next year, when you get Alex Rodriguez thrown into the mix, and you get David Ortiz thrown into the mix, do you see any of the 4 that did not make it this year? And I'll lay it out. It's Curt Schilling, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Sammy Sosa. All 4 next year will have their 10th and final year on the ballot. With those 2 new guys entering, do any of those 4 make the Hall of Fame?
Nope. So I'll tell you right now, Schilling should be in.
Schilling should be in for a whole other reason, by the way, because he lost votes because of he was a little outspoken after he was a player. Who cares?
Yep. So here's the deal. I'll say this right off the bat. Schilling has been outspoken. Hasn't touched any of his numbers. He should have been in. He's 5-0 in lose or go home games. He is a world champion 2 times over. He has the numbers. His numbers are very comparable to David Cohn. I think I saw a comparison somewhere. But anyway, Schilling should be in. Fred McGriff should be in, and Biggio and Harold Baines should be out. There is no way those two should be in there. If you're going to keep those two in and not put McGriff and Schilling in, then it's the Hall of Average, and that's fine. But Bonds and Clemens and Sosa, who's the other one? Bonds, Clemens, Closa, A-Rod, and Ortiz. It's funny. They cheated the game. They didn't cheat. They cheated themselves, but they cheated the game. And that is much more than anything else. When you talk about Marty McSorley with the stick measurement, he was cheating.
So dude, but so were like 7 other guys, and I've talked to those guys. I've talked personally to Wayne Gretzky, Thomas Sandstrom, Luc Robitaille. All of those guys had that stick.
Oh yeah, but that's the one Jacques Demers saw. Now it's 2 totally different things.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah, sure.
we're talking about steroids and we're talking about illegal sticks.
Right.
But it's cheating. And the bottom line is it's cheating. And Gaylord Perry is in the Hall of Fame, and he loaded up a ball or 2. And Phil Niekro is in there. You're going to sit there and tell me that Joe Niekro was the only member of the family that had an emery board in his pocket? Are you kidding me?
Right.
You know, can you imagine the sawdust under the table at Thanksgiving from their nails? You got to be kidding me.
Well, and then it opens up the question then too of, and look, I've had this argument with a ton of people. Pete Rose, in my point of view, absolutely, unequivocally deserves to be in the Hall of Fame as well. I mean, so
Pete Rose will be in the Hall of Fame the year after he dies.
That's a shame, though, man. That's
well, but you know, it says right on the door, if you gamble on anything, you are out.
Yeah.
But is Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame?
Well, look.
Hey.
And here's the question as we get ready to leave here. Here's the question, right?
Yep.
Is steroids a lesser offense than what Pete Rose did? Let that sink in. Let that sink in, all the listeners. And look, it's what I'm. Let me just read one of my listeners here real quick. Bonds, Clemens, Rodriguez, all Hall of Famers and should be in. One of my listeners just texted us that on the, because I know you can't see it right now, but Bonds, Clemens, Rodriguez, all Hall of Famers and should be in.
Clemens, right? How about McGuire?
Well, again, there's another guy that to me. Let's take Kurt Schilling out of the side for a second because I think Schilling should be in. Bonds, Clemens, and now you're putting an A-Rod. I don't think A-Rod's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
No.
But
none of them will be.
No. But Bonds and Clemens. Look, I'm not thrilled with the steroid part of this, so I'm not trying to give a pass. I'm not trying to look over it. They cheated the game. They cheated themselves, but they still did what they did at that level. Like you're using that to enhance yourself, but if you're Barry Bonds, you still got to hit 700 and some home runs.
Yep, but here's the thing: is that did it improve? I mean, we don't need to get into the aspects of what was improved when they were on steroids.
Right?
Did they hit the ball farther? All that other stuff.
Right.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. This is what I see happening. Pretty much the steroid era ends with A-Rod and Ortiz. Am I right? Is there anybody in the game now that's Cano?
But Robinson Cano won't. Robinson Cano does not have the career to get in the Hall of Fame. Just my 2 cents.
He had the opportunity to do that. I think if he remained in New York, he would have. But you're right.
Maybe.
So to me, it ends with A-Rod and Ortiz.
Okay, so let me ask you this: if you're putting A-Rod and Ortiz into the same cloud, if you will, of the steroid era, do either one of those guys get in?
I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen. There, once A-Rod and Ortiz fail to make it in the first 10 years, it goes to the Veterans Committee, right?
Right.
So the Veterans Committee is the actual baseball players that
Right.
review it.
Right.
It's not the writers. The writers are going to side with the players, the Joe Morgans, the Don Suttons, and the rest of them that said, heck no, they shouldn't be in. Keep them out.
Well, so
And what's gonna
if
happen is
that happens, then you're not going to have anybody go into the Hall of Fame for the next 2, 3, or 4 years.
You're going to see all of those steroid users. They're going to have to wait 10 years for A-Rod and Ortiz to get off of that ballot. And what's going to happen is they're going to bring them all together, and the players are going to have to come clean, and they're going to have to come clean and say, hey, look, we did this, and now we're going to our peers, because it's their peers that are going to keep them out. It's not the writers. It's going to be the peers. It's going to be their fellow ball players. And then I think they will all get in. And I'll tell you who the biggest crook, absolute biggest crook of the steroid era is. And he'll be dead when this happens. In 10 years, he'll be dead. It's Bud Selig. Because Bud Selig should have done something after the strike, and the home runs is what drew people to the park. I remember sitting in left field at Shea Stadium, 110 degrees, sweating like you wouldn't believe, and I watched McGuire, and for a doubleheader, and watched McGuire take batting practice. And there's 30,000 people in Shea Stadium watching an opposing hitter take batting practice. And the next week, we were there to see Sosa. It was this. That's what brought the players back. That's what brought baseball back in the regular in families and everything else, was the home run chases that McGuire and Sosa had, and Bonds a few years later, after the strike left Major League Baseball without a World Series champion. And it all boils down to Bud Selig's head, and he'll be dead by the time A-Rod and Ortiz have to walk up to that Veterans Committee. They cheated the game, but they were it's really bizarre. They cheated the game, but the game cheated them by allowing them to cheat the game. So
and this is a discussion that you and I have had. I know my listeners and I have had. I'm going to effort. I don't know that I can. For Thursday's show, I've got two guys that I talk to all the time, Corey Nayland and Mark Pavlovich from Sportsnet USA. Hopefully those guys will join me, because we'll talk about this some more. Because, I think everybody's got some sort of outlook on this. Look, my 2 cents, Rob Manfred, do the right thing, put Pete in the Hall of Fame, and then we'll discuss the rest later. That's what I think.
I don't know if Manfred can well, he'd have to lift the suspension. And,
right.
It's really bizarre. Getting back to Bud Selig once again, in 1999, they had the all-century team, and they had all the players there.
That's right.
And Aaron, and I can't even name any of the other ones, but they brought in Major League Baseball, brought in Pete Rose to stand there and say, you're on our all-century team, and they marketed Pete Rose. And first thing,
if you're gonna use the guy like that, put him in the Hall of Fame already. Come on.
You want a prime example? Look at the WNHL.
Oh,
they use those two girls out at the All-Star game, and they're like, hey, you're not going to help our league? We just helped yours. We help promote women in your league, and now you're not going to help us?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that's why they're helping. If the NHL was smart, they should have stayed away from them, or they should have. There's a slang I'll use, that I won't use. But you either help them or you don't. and they said, "No, we're not going to help you, but we want you here at the All-Star game." And the WNHL, they lawyered up pretty quick, and the next thing one's working for the Blackhawks, and the next thing you know, that the NHL has helped funding their 3-week tournament up in Lake Placid, and they're making it safe, and they're going to do this, and they're marketing. All of a sudden, everything happens, and I'll tell you what the crime is. The crime is you go to the NHL Hall of Fame, and the NHL players are there. That's great. Now they're having the Olympic players there, the Tretiaks, and all of the women's players there. That's great. That's great that they have all of that. Where's the WHA? Where is Andre Lacroix in that Hall of Fame? If it's the Hockey Hall of Fame, that's one thing. But they market it as the NHL Hall of Fame, and that has to stop. They need to. Marcus Ketterer is the best Swedish goaltender ever to come out of Sweden before Henrik. Why is he not in that Hall of Fame? There would be people from Sweden flying in to go to Toronto. They would.
Yes, they would. They would.
They would be proud of that. I mean, I'm trying to think of others. If the Stastny's never defected, Spovoda never defected out of Czechoslovakia. You're talking about players that would have, Fedosov and all the Russians and everything else. Tretiak is the biggest. Let's not kid ourselves here. But why are they not in the Hall of Fame? I believe Tretiak actually is in the Hall of Fame.
I think Tretiak is, but yeah, you're right. Look, it's got to be if it's the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Right.
It's got to be everybody that has put their mark on that in some way or another to be that great.
Yep. Andre Lacroix, bar none, is the all-time leading scorer in the WHA. His numbers are comparable to, they're actually better than Correa, Lindros, and Bure. And I actually chart it all out, and I make people guess which one should be in the Hall of Fame, and every one of them to the T picks Andre Lacroix. And that's where I'm at with that, is that just because he played in the WHA and he took the WHA money and ran with it, great. Johnny McKenzie left the Big Bad Bruins to play in the WHA. Davey Keon was an NHL Hall of Famer, went to the WHA. He spent 6 years in the WHA, and that's because Harold Ballard would not trade Davey Keon to the Islanders in 75. He should have been an Islander in 75. They probably would have knocked Philadelphia out of one of the two Stanley Cup playoff matches, and they probably would have knocked off Montreal in one of those two matches because they had Keon as a second line center with Trottier number one with Gillies and Bossy. And no one remembers that. It was the Butch Goring trade to your Kings,
Yep.
which got the Islanders the cup. Can you imagine if they got to keep Lewis, and I can't remember the other player that went to, I think it was Lauren Henning or Wayne Merrick went to the Kings.
Wayne Merrick went, yeah.
Yep. So you're talking about those two assets and Davey Keon on the Islanders. Would they have beaten Gretzky in the second time they played them in 84? No. But that's where I'm at, is that nobody's looking at the bigger picture. And getting back to baseball, the bigger picture is the baseball writers are not going to vote him in. They're going to leave it up to the Veterans Committee, and I actually like that. But they cheated the game. There's not going to be an asterisk next to their name. They're going to come out and say, yes, this was the steroid era. Don't do steroids. And you know what the funny thing is that Michael Vick had a horrendous crime, and he has offered his services for PETA. I want to help with this. He has, and it's also court ordered, so don't get me wrong. but I've never ever seen any of the users come out and say, I used it, I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing, I apologize for it. I want to make sure all these kids stay off of steroids. I've never seen you'll never see it on ESPN, you'll never see it on any of the bigwig networks, because they haven't done it. And Michael Vick feels mortified for what he did. He'll never do it again. But these players, and he said he's sorry 1,000 times over, but these players, they're too proud to be in the Major League Baseball and everything else. I can't believe McGuire got a job as a batting instructor. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So you made millions on the home run chase and millions throughout your career, and now you want to be a batting coach? Like, what's the first thing to do? Find an empty stall? I mean, come on. Are you nuts?
We will do a whole show just surrounding that for sure, because I have to go. I'm going to pull you down. Hold on 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Christopher Sheffield, the chef, is with us. Dude, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. Before I let you guys go, two things. We're going to be at Mountain Mike's Pizza this Sunday for Super Bowl Sunday from 12 to 1:30. 90 minutes of us talking to you all about your sports and taking your picks. We're also going to have, at one point, I think we have to tape delay it because he's a busy guy. But Dave Weaver from TVG is going to join me as well. So we're going to go over all the odds and where you should put your money in betting. And if you're betting in California, you shouldn't be yet because it's not legal. But we'll tell you where to get all that. So join us at Mountain Mike's Pizza in Fountain Valley, California from 12 to 1:30 Super Bowl Sunday till we get you all set. And then there's a new episode of the podcast coming where we're going to talk to Jim Sweeney of Boston College. Jim was part of the Boston College point shaving scandal way back when. He's got a brand new book. He's still playing basketball. He's playing basketball all over the world, and we're going to talk to him about it. And that's going to be coming up. We're actually taping that Friday, so we'll have that to you over the weekend as well. We're going to get out of here, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us again on this live episode. We're going to do another live episode on Thursday, and if you have your questions, your comments, who should be in the Hall of Fame, you guys call us and let us know. Until Thursday, you guys be safe, be good humans. We'll talk to you later.